Daniel Silberman was 6 years old when the coup occurred in Chile. On September the 11th, 1973, Daniel was living with his family in the northern town of Chuquicamata. His engineer father, David Silberman, was an ally and friend of the democratically elected socialist president Salvador Allende, and worked as the general manager of the Calama copper mines. The Silberman family, who were non-observant Jews, had moved to the desert area in 1971. Daniel told me that the Chileans there were committed to change, almost like Israeli Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion in the 1950s, who said he wanted to make the desert bloom. Only a handful of other Jewish families lived in Chuquicamata. The 11th of September 1973 was the day that changed our lives forever, Daniel wrote in The Guardian in 1998. The army took over, bombarding La Moneda, Chile's presidential palace in Santiago, the Chilean capital, causing the deaths of many people, the president, Allende, among them, and arresting hundreds of others, shooting people down in the streets. Numerous people were brought to the National Stadium, the only place big enough to contain the crowds of the arrested. The humiliations and tortures for which the regime was to become famous started here. The Silbermans' family's life was thrown into turmoil. Returning to Santiago soon after the coup, Daniel's father turned himself into the regime led by General Augusto Pinochet after many workers were killed by the army at the mine he managed. He hoped that he might be saved because he had done nothing wrong. Instead, he was given a court-martial without the right to a defense and falsely accused of stealing $13 million. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison, and Daniel's mother and children could visit David, but his condition deteriorated due to frequent beatings and torture, including electric shocks on his genitals.